There is really no need for me to write you about this suffering for God's people. I know how eager you are, and I boast about you to the Macedonians. I tell them, Achaia has been ready since last year, and it was your zeal that stirred up most of them. But now I am sending the brothers so that our boast about you in this regard will not prove hollow, so that you will be ready as I said you would be. For if some Macedonians were to come with me and find you unprepared, we would be humiliated at having been so confident, to say nothing of how you would feel. So I thought it necessary to urge these brothers to go on to you ahead of me and prepare your promised gift in plenty of time. This way it will be ready when I come, and it will be a genuine gift, not something extracted by pressure. Here's the point. He who plants sparingly also harvests sparingly. Each should give according to what he has decided in his heart, not grudgingly or under compulsion, for God loves a cheerful giver. Moreover, God has the power to provide you with every gracious gift in abundance, so that always in every way you will have all you need yourselves and be able to provide abundantly for every good cause. As the Tanakh says, He gave generously to the poor. His tzedakah lasts forever. He who provides both seed for the planter and bread for food will supply and multiply your seed and increase the harvest of your tzedakah. You will be enriched in every way so that you can be generous in everything. And through us, your generosity will cause people to thank God, because rendering this holy service not only provides for the needs of God's people, but it also overflows in the many thanks people will be giving to God. In offering this service, you prove to these people that you glorify God by actually doing what your acknowledgement of the good news of the Messiah requires, namely, sharing generously with them and with everyone. And in their prayers for you, they will feel a strong affection for you because of how gracious God has been to you. Thanks be to God for his indescribable gift. End of 2 Corinthians, chapter 9. Now the first covenant had both regulations for worship and a holy place here on earth. A tent was set up, the outer one, which was called the holy place. In it were the menorah, the table, and the bread of the presence. Behind the second paraket was a tent called the holiest place, which had the golden altar for burning incense and the ark of the covenant, entirely covered with gold. In the ark were the gold jar containing the manna, Aharon's rod that sprouted, and the stone tablets of the covenant, and above it were the cheruvim, representing the Shekinah, casting their shadow on the lid of the ark. But now is not the time to discuss these things in detail. With things so arranged, the cohanim go into the outer tent all the time to discharge their duties. But only the cohen hagadol enters the inner one, and he goes in only once a year, and he must always bring blood, which he offers both for himself and for the sins committed in ignorance by the people. By this arrangement, the Ruach HaKodesh showed that so long as the first tent had standing, the way into the holiest place was still closed. This symbolizes the present age and indicates that the conscience of the person performing the service cannot be brought to the goal by the gifts and sacrifices he offers. For they involve only food and drink and various ceremonial washings, regulations concerning the outward life, imposed until the time for God to reshape the whole structure. But when the Messiah appeared as cohen gadol of the good things that are happening already then, through the greater and more perfect tent, which is not man-made, that is, it is not of this created world, he entered the holiest place once and for all. And he entered not by means of the blood of goats and calves, but by means of his own blood, thus setting people free forever. For if sprinkling ceremonially unclean persons with the blood of goats and bulls and the ashes of a heifer restores their outward purity, then how much more the blood of the Messiah, who through the eternal Spirit offered himself to God as a sacrifice without blemish, will purify our conscience from works that lead to death, so that we can serve the living God. I was given a measuring rod, like a stick, and told, "Get up and measure the temple of God and the altar, and count how many people are worshiping there. But the court outside the temple, leave that out. Don't measure it, because it has been given to the nations, and they will trample over the holy city for 42 months. Also I will give power to my 2 witnesses, and they will prophesy for 1,260 days, dressed in sackcloth. These are the 2 olive trees and the 2 menorahs standing before the Lord of the earth. If anyone tries to do them harm, fire comes out of their mouth and consumes their enemies, Yes, if anyone tries to harm them, that is how he must die. They have the authority to shut up the sky so that no rain falls during the period of their prophesying. Also, they have the authority to turn the waters into blood and to strike the earth with every kind of plague as often as they want. When they finish their witnessing, the beast coming up out of the abyss will fight against them, overcome them, and kill them. And their dead bodies will lie in the main street of the great city, whose name, to reflect its spiritual condition, is Sodom and Egypt, the city where their Lord was executed on a stake. Some from the nations, tribes, languages, and peoples see their bodies for 3.5 days and do not permit the corpses to be placed in a tomb. The people living in the land rejoice over them. They celebrate and send each other gifts because these 2 prophets tormented them so. But after the 3.5 days, a breath of life from God entered them. They stood up on their feet, and great fear fell on those who saw them. Then the 2 heard a loud voice from heaven saying to them, "Come up here." And they went up into heaven on a cloud, while their enemies watched them. In that hour there was a great earthquake, and 1/10 of the city collapsed. 7,000 people were killed in the earthquake, and the rest were awestruck and gave glory to the God of heaven.